So we're going to talk a little about the Air Force, where we're going, what we're doing, but really about this thing called acquisitions. So Swami's right. We flew together. I came from the Air Force, active duty. I then retired and had a rare opportunity to take a guard commission under Title 32, so I'm under a state billet in California. And I became a government civilian and was the installation director for Edwards, and then wound up taking over a place called Plant 42, which is a unique facility that does unique stuff, and if you don't know what Plant 42 is, we're probably doing it right. So, fascinating place with about 16,000 mission partners there building tomorrow's Air Force. When I was in processing at the 419th, an individual there said, you know, you're going to have to understand this acquisition process, because aircraft that used to take years to produce were now turning out in mere decades. And the sad part of this commentary is it's true. For the panel, how can we get back to delivering combat capability to the warfighter faster, better, cheaper, more effectively? Because, as Dr. Chaudhry mentioned, our warfighter deserves that.
There's probably an important concept that we've lost since the early days, the golden age of aviation and things, and that is outcome-based acquisition. So what does that mean? We need to go super hypersonic. We need to go to space. We need to go to the moon at the end of the decade. We need to get XYZ capability on the ground. Don't care how you do it, get it done. So the biggest thing we need to do to speed up the cycle is to understand there are three different equities in play. There's we'll call it the taxpayer government cost equity, right? That we're allocating money to this and they put money to find some way. Secondarily, you've got the warfighter who just wants an operational capability. And what we tend to do with the warfighter is iterate and iterate and iterate. And typically the old adage, your stuff is made by the lowest bidder. And you end up with mediocrity sometimes. You don't get exactly what you need when you really just want to, I need to hit that target in under 10 seconds. I don't really care how you help me do it, just help me figure it out, right? And then you got the business mindset. I've been sitting in all these roles, and businesses have to survive for the shareholder. They have to create a margin, they have to have profit and cash, or they don't exist anymore. That's the jobs that we have in America, the infrastructure that goes behind it. But the inefficiency around the iteration and not producing a solution that needs to be done, or if the warfighter or the urgent operational need that comes from the commanders say, I need to be able to stop a drone before it hits me with a grenade attached to it. That's it. That's the outcome I need.
But in reality, especially with the fact that the warfighter deserves it, I think we have to think about delivering all three and all three all the time. So is this a realistic expectation to deliver cost, schedule, and performance?
We have the Small Business Innovative Research Program. We put out broad agency announcements through AFRL and honestly, my directorate all the time. We have have a lab designation. Only a few directorates have that, but we are constantly looking for those outcomes. We're not saying this is how we know best. We don't always. And so we are looking for industry to tell us, what should we be doing in this space?
I took over as CEO at Mojave about 6 months ago. 2 months after I took over, Boom had its first flight of their supersonic demonstrator, which will be the next supersonic airliner in the world. Next week, they're going to go supersonic. I don't know how many DoD programs in 4 months would go from first flight to supersonic, but they figure it out. I think we need to figure it out too.